All right. So we're going to go. I don't know if it's going to be on Periscope or not, but here we are. It might be on Periscope right now.
Let's see.
Hey guys, we are trying to be on air for another quick Battle Hymn Republic, not Battle Hymn Republic, Battle Hymnal show. And we got Graham Coffey here, and he wrote a story on the offensive line and some of what we can hope to expect from Todd Monken's offense. So let me so that was on Dog Sports. He came out with that yesterday, right, Graham? And tell us what we saw in the news today. We're reading tea leaves. And for those that are interested in seeing these interviews, my good buddies at Bulldog Illustrated have them on their YouTube channel. So we heard from Warren Erickson this week, and tell us what you gathered and what you're seeing and what you hope to see from them.
Yeah, well, so Erickson mentioned in one of his interviews that basically the guys along the offensive line are very competitive with each other right now about hitting target weights, and mentioned that a lot of them are trying to cut weight, which if we look back at the beginning of the Kirby Smart era, where everything was kind of about trying to bulk up on both lines of scrimmages, it's kind of interesting. And I think it tells us a little bit about how Todd Monken is going to use his offensive line.
All right, well, I'm going to cue up a Notre Dame play from last year, and you've kind of queued some up for us. So tell us, what are we seeing here? It's a 1st and 10 early in the Notre Dame game.
Yeah, so you notice that the tight ends are in tight on the line, which is effectively giving Georgia 7 guys in the box to block for the running back. The Bulldogs are going to want to fire off the ball, but what Georgia's offensive line is doing in this situation, and did in a lot of situations last year, is they're going to rely on size and push to create holes for their backs. The play is designed to go to the right, but that side of the line gets pushed back and collapses, so Swift ends up cutting back towards the left.
Yeah, and I've got some scrolling graphics on there. Some of the things I'm tracking in terms of personnel group and some of the SEC StatCat formation and stuff that we're going to be working with all year. So, yeah, it was an unsuccessful play. Just went for 4 yards, and like you say, he had to cut back. We had 12 personnel, which 2 extra tight ends, and
Yeah,
it just didn't go anywhere. So tell us, I mean, like, is that something similar? I mean, that's a 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, and again, is that we're seeing a thinner line, right? A leaner, meaner line. So
yeah. So and I think, we're going to look at some clips here of what Todd Monken has done with his offensive blocking schemes at his pass stops. And I think it's going to give us a little bit of illumination on what we can expect from Georgia this year. And it's going to look very different than what you would expect from, a Sam Pittman offensive line.
Yeah, here we go. We got the USM play coming up. It's a 1st and 10 out of 20 personnel, and show us what you saw in this play.
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, it's Monken has his guys in the pistol, which I don't think we've ever seen Georgia run in the past. The only SEC team I think that's really run it with any regularity was LSU under Les Miles, but they didn't do it very successfully.
All right, so I'm calling it 20 personnel. So tell us pistol, just so we can.
So the pistol is basically just our quarterback is not in the shotgun. He's not under center, but he's basically right in between those 2 positions and is 4 yards off the line. If you look at the alignment of Monken's offensive line and the entire offense, it's going to look very different than what Georgia fans were probably used to seeing last season. The splits between the linemen are a bit wider than what you would traditionally see. And it's not a surprise. Monken is an air raid disciple. He often gets labeled as an air raid offensive coordinator, which really he's not. But, if you look at a traditional Mike Leach offensive line, you're going to have like these giant 3-foot splits between the linemen. It's not that dramatic, but it's definitely a little bit wider splits along the line than what you would be, kind of used to seeing from Georgia in the past. So the other thing that's interesting is just the spacing in general. There's a lot of space between the O-line and the pass catchers, and the tight ends. You don't see Monken bring tight ends in very often to get down in a 3-point stance and block along the the line of scrimmage, they're going to be split out and standing upright like a classic receiver.
Yeah, and I've got the second play coming up from that same game in 2015 where Monken was a play caller and head coach. Yeah, and I don't see a lot of tight ends, and it's a lot of 5 linemen. I think also I think we are going to see some tight ends, but I think they're going to be used as wide receivers because we got so much more athleticism out of the tight end position. So the second play is this big run on 20 personnel.
So if you look at it, what you're going to notice is that it's very different than what we are used to seeing from a Georgia offensive line. Right on the snap, the whole line shifts to the left, and it is a basic off tackle run, but the action with the right guard pulling is kind of more similar to what you would see on a sweep, especially in Georgia's offense under Coley last season. The whole line is going to block diagonal to their left. And so despite being lined up directly in front of the defensive end, the right tackle is going to go and block the defensive tackle. He doesn't actually get to his man, but he kind of ends up hitting him with like a little rub style block with his right shoulder pad. What this tells us more than anything is like Monken doesn't care about letting backside pressure go, and he's using his right tackle to try and gain a numbers advantage at the point of attack, which it kind of means runs are going to have to go where they're meant to. DeAndre Swift was really, really good at freelancing and kind of seeing where the line was collapsing and just going for that point, even if it wasn't necessarily where the play was designed to go. You're probably not going to see as many cutbacks against the grain from Georgia running backs in 2020 as you did in 2019.
All right, let's go look back to 2011 when he was at Oklahoma State in this 2nd and 4 play that you wanted to come to show us.
Yeah. So again, we see that he's in a pistol formation. He's running a true draw play here. A lot of people called the James Coley zone read that he ran about 23% of the time last season a draw, but really it was more of just a RPO kind of concept, and it was blocked more like a pass play a lot of times with the lineman standing up. In this play, the O-line is trying to drive downfield. You have a true draw play where Oklahoma State's letting the ends rush up the field, and the left guard on this play doesn't collapse onto the defensive tackle to give help to the center, nor does the end provide help to the tackle. Instead, the left guard doesn't actually engage a defender until he's 10 yards downfield, and that defender is a linebacker, which kind of takes us back to what Warren Erickson we think is talking about, and that that's a lot more mobility and running than we're used to seeing from our linemen at Georgia, and it's a little bit harder to square up a linebacker that's 230 and runs a 4.5 or 4.6 than it is a 300-pound defensive tackle. So we're going to have to see a little more agility from Georgia's own linemen.
All right. Well, let's look at this 3rd and 1 play and tell us what you wanted to show us here.
So yeah, we have an inside handoff, and it should be noted that Monken's teams aren't all finesse. I think this is a jumbo package almost. Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, he might be a pass first offensive coordinator, but his guys can definitely get gritty, and they do a great job in this play of using traditional man-on-man blocking techniques to. Everyone puts a hat on the guy in front of them, and they create a positive run on a 3rd and 1 situation, which I don't know about you guys, but it seems like Georgia didn't have much success in short yardage last year when everyone in the stadium knew that, it was going to be a run up the middle. So I think that's, it's positive to see that Monken's offensive line, despite definitely being more, spread concept, they do a good job against a good Oklahoma defensive line in this situation with some future pros on it and get a good push on a short yardage situation.
All right. This is going to be a quick episode, but we're on to kind of a cool play, and it's a touchdown play in that same game versus Oklahoma. And this has got to be one of your favorite plays that you dug up for us.
Yeah. So we have the line tight in on the interior with the tackles, and it's interesting because the tackles are set a little bit of a half step back from the line of scrimmage. The interior is tight on the play, which, it's a little different. If you watch a lot of Monken's plays from the past, the splits definitely get played with at different times throughout the game. But we see the center snap the ball, and he immediately heads upfield to find a man to put his hat on. The right tackle is going to use his leverage on the outside and get a seal, and he sets the edge on the crashing linebacker, and the right guard takes the left end before the left end even knows what's happening. So lots of switching. Nobody's really blocking the guy right in front of him, but you see the right side of Oklahoma's front go basically unblocked. And, again, it's kind of, Monken's more interested in putting hats at the point of attack than he is protecting the weak side of the play. But, even with those guys unblocked, the second running back who doesn't take the handoff still comes down to ensure that the ball carrier has the amount of time he needs to get off. So the left tackle never actually touches anyone on the entire play. But he is there to help seal the lane downfield if need be. There's just not a linebacker in that area for him to put a helmet to. But the blocking up front creates enough of a seal to get to the next level. But what's really fascinating is the reason that this is an explosive touchdown run instead of a 4-yard gain is because the center has the agility to get to the linebacker and keep him out of the play.
We got the same center again. So
yeah.
Are you concerned for Trey Hill and our center play this year?
No, I'm not. I mean, I think Trey Hill's a really good athletic center. It's going to be different from what we saw at a lot of times with Georgia's offensive line last year. And I mean, I think we saw, since Kirby Smart has come in, we've seen the mantra of Georgia talking about out physically their opponents, and that really more than anywhere kind of has carried over to the offensive line. Georgia's played a lot of man-on-man football up front where the line's job is to engage the guy directly across from them and get a big enough push to drive the D-line backwards, which that's great when it helps to wear down an opponent over the course of 4 quarters. But the margin for error in that style of blocking is really thin, and it's especially tough when you run into the teeth of 8 and 9-man boxes that are stacked to stop the run because you haven't shown you're able to beat man coverage consistently in the pass game. So you can expect Monken to spread his line out with wide splits and put receivers and tight ends on the outside to help kind of take some of those defenders out of the box. But you will see more plays where linemen are pulling and heading towards the point of attack and letting the defender directly in front of them crash to the weak side of the play. You're also going to see Georgia's linemen outside of the tackle box and moving downfield more than you did in 2019, which in the Sugar Bowl, Georgia kind of, for the first time all year, found a toss and sweep game, and guards pulled and tackles fired off the ball towards the outside hash marks, and they left their man to be blocked by interior linemen on the inside, and it went really well. The story for 2019 kind of had already been written at that point, but you had Andrew Thomas out of that game. There was 3 starters out of that game, so it was kind of an early look at the 2020 unit that we'll see for this coming season. And they did really well and showed that they had the footwork and athleticism that's required to thrive in those types of plays. So I think it sets up really well. What Monken did along the line at his previous college stops was designed to take undersized linemen, which is what you have at places like Southern Miss and Oklahoma State, and get them, into their strengths and get them moving upfield. It's going to be interesting to see what he does with a line that has NFL caliber size, and with the talent he has at his disposal, it's going to give him options he's never had at the college level. So he's likely to call a run with straightforward blocking schemes in one moment, and he's likely to send blockers head into the second level with the hope of busting a big gain on the next down. So it's going to be
all right. I'm going to jump in because you're playing the that you drew up for that touchdown play in Oklahoma. It looked Oklahoma State game looks awfully familiar. So you and I collaborated on a little piece you did for Dog Sports, Coffee versus Coley, and I'm looking at this play, and it's the same play. Tell us what happened in your play, why you didn't score a touchdown.
Because I didn't have a center that fired off the ball and took care of the outside linebacker 10 yards downfield. So, yeah, Tom Monken is definitely a man after my own heart, and it's really exciting when you go and look at some of the things he does. It's very different, and we're going to have a lot of fun in the build-up to the preseason breaking that down on the Battle Hymn.
That's awesome. It just cracked me up, too, because they had the play camera that we needed to match your play. I thought it was hysterical. Made me Made me glad I kept all your files laying around on my computer. So, at any rate, I'm gonna put up your. Well, I'm not gonna do that. We're gonna wrap it up. Graham writes for Dog Sports. He's got a lot more going on these days. He's cranking out material and putting up good stories, and he goes in deep on the offensive line play that we just broke down. I wrote a story today looking at some quarterback metrics. I'm going to be breaking down each position group and highlighting some of the SEC returning. So please follow us on Twitter. Graham's at Professor SEC, and I'm at dog_stats, dog stats. So thanks
Josh,
for coming. Yes.
It was a great follow and did a great Bulldog Illustrated blog today on EPA and some of those advanced stats that I'm still learning about, but he does a great job of putting all that stuff into a language that everyone can understand. So go give that a read.
I appreciate that shout out, and I appreciate you guys if you're still with us. Thanks for watching, and we'll do some more of this. Follow us on Twitter and get some questions. We're here for you guys, and we're having fun with it. All right, see you guys.